revenue growth up 261% in the fourth quarter, and revenue growth up over 100% in 2021. Today, I'm talking about BurgerFi's fourth quarter earnings and 2021 earnings. All this and more coming up on Morris Money. Hello, welcome to Morris Money, where we give you stock tips in under 5 minutes. I'm your host, Morris Willie. Today, we're talking about BurgerFi's fourth quarter and full year 2021 earnings. Total revenue in the fourth quarter of 2021 increased 261% to $35.1 million compared to $9.7 million in the previous year's quarter, driven by the addition of 2 months of operations of the Anthony's business acquired on November 3rd, 2021, additional revenue from new restaurants opened during the period, and an increase in royalty and other fees. System-wide sales in the fourth quarter of 2021 increased 23% to $40.7 million compared to $33.2 million in the previous year's quarter. Same-store sales increased 5% and 7% in corporate-owned and franchise locations respectively, and were supported by an increase in average check resulting from the strong performance of new menu items such as the Swag Burger and price increases instituted towards the end of the second quarter. Restaurant-level operating expenses for the fourth quarter of 2021 were $27.5 million compared to $5.6 million in the fourth quarter of 2020, which includes 2 months of operations of the Anthony's business, which again was acquired on November 3rd, 2021. Restaurant-level operating expenses as a percentage of sales increased 340 basis points from the fourth quarter of 2021 compared to the fourth quarter of 2020, primarily due to higher labor costs. Net loss attributable to common shareholders in the fourth quarter was $117.3 million compared to a net income attributable to common shareholders and controlling interest of $6 million in the year-ago quarter. The loss resulted primarily from $114.8 million of non-cash impairment charges and $2.1 million of acquisition-related costs and certain investments made after becoming a public company in December of 2020. Adjusted EBITDA in the fourth quarter of 2021 increased 231% to $2.6 million compared to $0.8 million or $800,000 in the fourth quarter of 2020, driven by the acquisition of Anthony's and BurgerFi's revenue growth, particularly offset by the investments made related to being a public company and those to drive the growth and development of corporate-owned restaurants. Now, let's look at the full year 2021 results. Total revenue in 2021 increased 103% to $68.9 million compared to $34 million in 2020, with system-wide sales in 2020 rising 31% to $166.1 million compared to $126.9 million in 2020. Same-store sales increased 14% and 15% in corporate-owned and franchise locations respectively, and were supported by an increase in average check value resulting from menu innovation at the end of the first quarter and price increases instituted towards the end of the second quarter. Restaurant-level operating expenses for 2021 were $50.4 million compared to $22.1 million in the previous period. Restaurant-level operating expenses as a percentage of sales improved from the full year 2021 by 110 basis points compared to the full year of 2020 due to a change in our sales mix, more efficiently managing our costs of delivery through third-party suppliers, reduced our store operating expenses, and leveraged our occupancy costs that are relatively fixed in nature. Net loss attributable to common shareholders in 2021 was $121.5 million compared to a net income attributable to common shareholders and controlling interest of $6 million in 2020. The adjusted EBITDA increased by 72% in 2020 from $2.2 million in the prior year to $3.8 million in 2021. Now, let's talk about liquidity. On December 31st, 2021, the company had $14.9 million in cash compared to $37.2 million on December 31st, 2020. BurgerFi repaid and then terminated its $3 million revolving credit line in the first quarter of 2021, repaid $9.2 million of debt acquired in the acquisition of Anthony's, and invested $10.7 million in capital expenditures in 2021. For their 2022 outlook, the company acknowledges the challenges many are facing in the industry, including shortages of materials and labor for construction and development, along with elevated economy uncertainty. With that, management is reiterating the following expectations for the full year 2022, assuming the current economic environment does not change. Annual revenues of between $180 to $190 million, mid-single-digit same-store sale growth, 15 to 20 BurgerFi brand restaurants opening, most of which will be franchise locations, and adjusted EBITDA of between $12 to $14 million in capital expenditures are expected to be approximately $4 million. Now, let me know what you think about this video below. Unfortunately, we did go past 5 minutes, but it was a lot to cover in this video, so let me know what you think about it. Please don't take this video as financial advice, and thank you for watching Morris Money.